Hey guys, today I wanted to share with you some thoughts about my amazing trip that I had to Israel and walk with you or take you guys through an edit of one of my favorite images. First of all, it was an amazing opportunity being able to go to Israel with some of the top photographers around the world. We had photographers from Australia to England to California, New York, Montreal, Philadelphia. An amazing group of people. We'll talk a lot more about that, but today I really want to talk about this particular shoot. We had a lot of good fortune in that we met up with tons of amazing photographers there, and one organization called Phototiva helped to arrange to get us models. So we had a trip planned to go down to the Dead Sea, and for those of you who don't know, the Dead Sea is actually the lowest point on the earth. And I guess the sea is known for being so rich in salt and minerals. In fact, it's so salty that you actually float. You kind of sit on the water and you float on the water. Anyway, the landscape there is incredibly stunning. The water is like this deep blue, and it's got all this kind of solidified salt on the shoreline that has like a very kind of a cool texture to it. So the day that we planned on going, it turned out that it was torrential rainstorms, which is incredibly strange. So bad were the rainstorms that the models almost didn't even make it. They woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. They left from Tel Aviv, and the roads were so bad that I think that they had to get like a little ATV or something to transfer them from the car they came in from Tel Aviv to the place where we were staying. Anyway, our intent was to do a sunrise shoot. Didn't work out that way. But we ended up getting to the Dead Sea at around 6:30 in the morning. And what was so amazing about it is that there was actual clouds. And the clouds were like across the sea overlooking Jordan, which is very unusual for that region because typically you go to the Dead Sea and it's just blue sky, sunny and hot. So it was a little bit cooler, but it did get hot. There was a really nice breeze going, and one of the photographers, Rebecca, had her photo shoot set up with all this costumery that she had brought and these amazing dresses. Ben had another model, Ben Van Wong had another model that he had taken to another area. So I grabbed the third model, and she didn't really have a costume, but she had kind of like just cool street clothes. And we grabbed this long scarf, I guess, I don't even know what you call it, like a piece of black material, like sheer black material from Rebecca's bag, because she wasn't going to be using it. And because of the wind, it just created this beautiful kind of effect, to kind of help to frame the model. Anyway, here's one of my favorite shots. And the cool thing about this is that, we've got the model kind of standing there looking really cool. She's holding that piece of fabric. And the thing that's awesome about it is that that fabric is actually creating that beautiful shadow. So I really love kind of what's going on here with all this movement in the frame here, and then this beautiful background. It almost has a pastel kind of a look to it. One thing I should let you guys in on is that I actually lit this shot because I didn't want her face to be in shadow or in silhouette. So I borrowed a 600 watt second light from Mike Kelly. It's like a flash gun basically that he had bought, and it's a pretty cool light, and that was just basically shooting bare onto the model. So that was able to kind of give a nice light to her face without it being overpowering, just kind of balance this whole thing out. All right, so here's what I want to do for my basic edit. I want to start off here, and I think the exposure is really nice, but it's really heavy. So I definitely want to kind of bring a little bit, a few other things into the picture to kind of punch this thing up. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just add a little bit of contrast. And already we can see that there's just a lot more boom going on in there. I'm going to bring the highlights down just a hair because I want to kind of bring back that sky. But I don't want to bring it too down because if I do so, then like her face gets too muddy. So I'm just going to bring the highlights down just a little bit over there like that. And I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to bring the blacks down just a hair. Now the reason why I hold down the Option key is because I want to check for clipping. I don't want my blacks to clip. I just want to add a little bit of subtle black to this. All right, let's see how that looks. That's pretty cool. Now I'm just going to add a hair of shadow, or I'm going to boost the shadows just a hair, something like that. I'm going to add some clarity. The clarity is kind of going to do a little bit of sharpening for me. All right, that's pretty cool. Let's see, let's take a quick peek over there. Yeah, not too bad. I'm going to add some vibrance. I want to get all the colors and everything to get a little bit richer, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too heavy, so I'm going to just pull my saturation down just a little bit, something like that. Maybe we'll split the difference. I like the way that that's heading right about there. I'm just going to give it just a touch of exposure. Maybe, yeah, 0.10, 20. You know, I don't really get hung up on values when it comes to the sliders on Lightroom. To me, it's really about how the overall image looks. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to pump up some of the color in here. So I'm going to go into my HSL, I'm going to click on saturation, and I'm going to grab the little tool there, and I'm going to click on the C here, and I'm going to put my slider and I'm going to push it up. And as we can see, like the aqua and the blue is kind of going up there. That's kind of cool. I'm going to do the same thing on my sky. You know, I just want to pump up my sky a little bit. Well, that's really cool. Now, if I started messing with the reds and oranges, that would really affect her skin tones. So I really don't want to affect the skin tone. I really only just kind of want to affect the areas back here. All right, sharpening, I might just add just a little bit of sharpening. I'm going to bring the radius down because I really want to keep it very fine. And I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to mask everything off, so it's really just the edge detail that I'm looking to sharpen. Okay. It's a real subtle difference, but I do like what that does for it. Now, what I would also like to do is I'm thinking that I want to deal with making the background a little bit thicker and a little bit, maybe just bring down the overall highlight on that a little bit. So I'm going to hit the K tool, going to hit the K, or I'm going to select my brush tool, that's the shortcut for it, and I'm going to go to burn highlights. And I don't really want to affect the exposure that much right now. So I'm just going to maybe take this to about, I don't know, -25 or something like that, somewhere in that range. And what I'm also going to do with this tool is I'm just going to feather it a little bit. All right, something like that. And I've also got auto masking on, so that means that if I keep the little dot on the areas that I want to affect, if I move over, it won't affect, it'll kind of adhere to the edge detail. It'll kind of mask off these other areas here. So I'm just going to kind of paint this in here. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell what you're doing, so you can hit the O key, and that'll give you an idea of where the overlay of your mask is going. So I'm just going to kind of paint over to most of the image, actually. Now, I've already painted over this black thing, but I'm not overly concerned about that. It's really just, I don't want to affect the exposure on my model. So that's really what I'm going to be worrying about here. I'm just going to paint over all this stuff. And I'm just kind of roughly doing this. You know, I'm not getting too crazy with it. We are painting a little bit over. Now, that's not such a problem, because what I can do is I can hit the Option key, and that allows for me to erase. So I can erase any of these red areas that I've painted on here, and I can remove the overlay that I put if it affected my model. I'm even going to erase it on this thing. Okay. And I can just put it back a little bit there. Just going to put it back on her, and I'm just clicking into areas nearby just to let the masking kind of do its thing. There we go. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, let me click the O key again. Hang on one sec. Let me just make sure I got all my areas covered. And that's it. So now I can start actually changing my exposure. So I'm just going to bring my exposure down just a little bit. And look at how we've got so much more punch on that image. I can actually also add a little bit of saturation and just punch that up like that. And the really cool thing here is that let's look at the before, and let's look at the after. Now, there was nothing wrong with the before image, but for this particular image, I kind of want to give it a little bit more drama. So that's why I'm doing all of this. So I think I'm going to stick with what I've got there, and I'm going to hit the K key again to get rid of my brush tool. And I think I want to add just a little bit more exposure, because I really want her skin tones to look right. And I think that's about where I'm going to keep my edit. I like what's going on with the sky. I don't really want to add any kind of a vignetting to it. And look, let's look at the before, and let's look at the after. So there you go, a much more dramatic image with a lot more punch. Now you notice I didn't mess with the white balance because I kind of like what the camera automatically selected. If I hit the auto, it's not dramatically different. Maybe it gives a little bit more warmth. You know, maybe I could just bump it up a little bit. Let's do something like that. All right, cool guys. So there you go, that's my edit. So this is my edit of my, let me just make this a full frame shot here. Come on you, there we go. So there it is, there's my edit of the impromptu model shot that I did at the Dead Sea. This is probably one of my absolute favorite frames from that particular shoot. I've got tons of other shoots and stuff that I'm going to share with you guys and talk about from my trip. But I just wanted to start off with something like this to show you guys kind of what's behind the process for my editing when I take a photo like this. So that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll see you soon.